Hello and welcome back to the channel. I have an interesting video for you today. You and I know that the stock market trend last year was fueled by the aggressive money printing by the Fed in the scale of trillions of dollars. Now that the Fed started on tapering his asset purchases by tightening the money supply, this announced the end of the free money and the start of collapse of the huge stock bubble. So what we get from this? The answer is in your portfolio. Go take a look and filter the stock you have based on do they benefit from stimulus and quantitative easing or from inflation. So if the answer is the first option, the stocks will be destroyed. It's over for them. For example, look at the stock of Shopify. During the stimulus period, Shopify stock did great, but now with the rise of inflation, the name is getting crushed. These are the kind of names that you need to drop as soon as possible before it's too late. Because as we see on the chart of the US retail spending, a big pullback compared to the two steamy periods. That's for option 1. And if your portfolio is based on inflation name, for example Alcoa, we see during the lockdown period and stimulus check, Alcoa stock was trading sideways. But now that the stimulus checks are gone and the inflation is rising and not disappearing, we see Alcoa doing good because the rise of inflation pushed the price of aluminium higher and thus pushing the stock price higher and higher. So let's say you are now afraid of buying stocks and you want to park your cash somewhere. You can do that on gold. I mentioned in previous video that I am bullish on gold many times. And I bought physical and junior companies and my bet is winning. Also senior miners such as Bear Gold are a good choice as they recently did a $1 billion buyback plus they have a generous dividend. Gold is a good place to park your money. Conclusion, take a look at your portfolio and ask yourself, what is the weight of stimulus name in it? If it's over 50%, get out of this name as soon as possible before it's too late. If the majority of the name are based on inflation, stick to them and play the market via buying calls or puts options before earning. For example, let's say a name X is reporting earning and you are worrying a bit that the numbers will not be good. Sell the stock and buy upside calls. If the earnings are good, you can exercise your calls and have your share back. If the earnings are bad, you are genius. You just sold your stock at the top. With that being said, let's cover the market. And here you go. The Dow is down 232.85 points or a decline by 0.68%. The Nasdaq is down by 186.65 points or a decline by 1.23%. The S&P 500 is down by minus 31.39 points or a loss of 0.72%. Let's take a look at the sector performance. The sector performance for the last Friday is pathetic. Everything closed on the red, with the laggers are communication servers, technology, consumer cyclical, and consumer defensive did close on the flat line, with a slight decline for basic material and financial. Take a look at the futures. Futures, we have energy. Crude oil is on the green side for both West Texas Intermediate and Brent, with the Brent reaching $93.61. Gasoline on the green side, heating oil on the green side. Natural gas is red with a loss of 0.85%. Ethanol is doing great with a gain of 2.76%. Soft, we have losses for coca, gain for cotton and orange juice, and losses for coffee and lumber as well as sugar. For the metal, we see gold reached the spot price of $1,900. Silver is doing great with a slight gains of 0.31%. Platinum on the downside by losses with 2.12%. Copper and palladium on the flat line. For meat, live cattle slight losses with a decline of 0.63%. Feeder cattle are on the flat line with a slight decline by 0.19%, and lean hogs are getting higher and higher with gains of 1.44%. For the grain, we have gains for soybean oil, corn, canola, and losses for soybean meal, wheat, rough rice, and oats. Let's take a look at the indices. For a weak performance, as usual, we see a pullback for technology with Microsoft declining by 2.41%. Apple is declining this week by 0.80%. Big losses for Adobe by 6.63%. Oracle 6.50%. Square or Block is declined by 9.42%. For the semiconductor section are on sideways, with Intel has a loss of 5.44%. Communication service, Google is down by 2.73%. Facebook or Meta are down by 6.10%. They are down big after their last miss in earning. Consumer cyclical, Amazon is down by 0.45%. For consumer defensive, we see that it's playing to the upside. We know that Procter & Gamble and Walmart are the kind of names we hedge against inflation. They both have gains for the whole week. For example, Procter & Gamble is up by 2.31%. Energy is down on the week. Basic material, we see basic material, our gold names are shooting higher and higher. Financial is down for the week with names such as JP Morgan down by 1.16%. Bank of America is down big by 4.09%. Wells Fargo is down big by 4.60%. Let's move to chart with the SPY 30-minute time frame. We see now the gap and crab. Here we have the gap, we rip, and then we go all the way down, raising all the gains for the last 2 days, and then we have another gap, rip, and then we have a sell-off aggressively. We crossed here the very important support of $435.48. We see on the last candle of the last session that we reached this support, couldn't break up of it, and the stock closed below the resistance. We see the volume on the sell side are getting bigger and bigger. On the MACD line we have a crossing line, but the histogram bar are not getting bigger. They are about the same level, so we should expect a sideways trading on Tuesday session, because Monday the stock market is closed. It's a holiday in the United States. Same thing for the RSI. The RSI started crawling upward and then change its mind and come back to the downside. For the Qs are the same theme, a rip and then a strong sell-off, a rip and strong sell-off. This theme will be with us for some times, and we will see what's gonna happen when we're getting closer and closer to March, where basically the Federal Reserve are planning for an increase of 25 basis points in interest rate minimum, with some of the hawks in the Federal Reserve, for example President Bullard, is aiming for 50 basis point from the get-go. The IWM is creating here as we see from the 30-minute time frame, here we have a creation of a head and shoulder. Here the first shoulder, this is the head, this is the second shoulder, and we had a small rip consolidation around the $200. Basically, with this technical pattern, we'll have more downside for the IWM. Let's take a look at the dollar index daily time frame. We see that the dollar index now is trading around the $96 range. Here we have a creation of higher highs and higher lows, so more gains to come to the dollar index. Let's take a look at the VIX for our time frame. We see on the VIX that the MACD lines are pointing upwards and the RSI is pointing upwards, didn't reach the overbought territory, and from the chart is creating higher lows. We'll expect another spike on the VIX, maybe till the resistance of $33.57, and then we will see how the stock will trade, how the stocks will trade with the spike in the VIX. As we know, there is a correlation between the VIX and the SPY. So if the VIX point higher, the SPY will sell aggressively. If we have spikes in the VIX, we have aggressive sales in the SPY, and vice versa. Gold on the daily time frame. Here we go. The gold, we were speaking about this most important resistance that the gold was knocking the door many times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. On the 5th time, the gold broke and start running, as we explained in previous video. The spot gold is around the $1,900 range. We see that the MACD line are pointing upward and the histogram bars are getting bigger and bigger. The RSI is reached overbought territory, but I expect that there will be more gains to come to gold, because basically the rise of inflation and the change in the sentiments give more confidence to gold, and people start parking their money in a safe haven in this kind of high inflation environment. Let's take a look at single names. Let's take a look at Aapl. Aapl did breach the support of 167.45 on the last session and closed below it. We have a crossing on the MACD line with the red impression on the histogram bars are getting bigger and bigger. Here we see a pointing downward of the RSI, so we will expect a down move for Aapl stock. Tesla, we see that the MACD line are flattening and the green bars on the histogram are getting shorter. The RSI didn't reach overbought territory, and the stock is trading sideways between the $850 and the $860. So we'll expect that Tesla will trade sideways for the next few days. AMC, they did break above the resistance of $20 for a short moment, and they couldn't hold it as a support and come back to the downside. We see that the MACD line were pointing upward. Now they are flattening, and the RSI didn't reach the overbought territory. That means that the chart is exhausted and couldn't decisively break through the support of $20 we drew previously, and by that fact the name starts selling, so we'll expect a move down for AMC to the downside. Finally, let's speak about Bitcoin. We saw that Bitcoin had a little bit of run and then went until the level of $46,000, and then the sell-off started. This is a typical situation of a pump and dump name. If you are trading Bitcoin, I would understand, but if you are investing Bitcoin and holding it for long term, this is crazy. This is crazy. I don't recommend this kind of thing. You see this kind of pump and dump happening many and many times. See here, pump and dump. On the 60,000 they reached 68,000 and then they dropped the name aggressively till 53,000. After that, another pump and then the dump, and then a pump and then a dump, and then small pump and then a dump. I hear another pump and then starting the dump again. So I don't recommend no one to invest in Bitcoin. If you are trading it, it's fine. If you are investing it, I don't see a reason why. The intrinsic value of Bitcoin is 0. It has its value if someone wants to buy it. Thank you for watching, thank you for listening, and I will speak to you soon.